Mr. Drum, Mr. Randolph. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, we would ask everybody to silence all phones and electronic devices. If you wish to appeal any recommendation of this commission, appeals cards are to our right. If you would wish to speak in front of the commission, we respectfully ask that you fill out a speaker's card so that we have your name and address for our record. Each side will be given 10 minutes with a 5-minute rebuttal. And also, if you wish to discuss any of the cases before the commission when we are finished, we would ask that you go and exit the building as if you go back into the lobby area. It does echo back in. Paul, you have an announcement to make?
Yes, this is Donna Odell. She was formerly the city engineer of Slidell. Now she's an engineer working for the engineering department at St. Tammany Parish. And she's going to be involved in the subdivision process now with review and coming to the meetings.
Great, welcome. This time I'd ask everyone to stand for the invocation by Commissioner Randolph and the pledge by Commissioner Richard.
Gracious Father, most holy one, we stand before you once again to give you thanks for our presence and watching over protecting us all day. We thank you for this opportunity to represent this parish as commissioners. We thank you for those that are in the audience and the residents that we serve. We thank you for our government and help us to make decisions that's in the best interest of all. In all these blessings we ask in your name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In our packages, Commissioners, we have the minutes from the July 9th, 2015 meeting. Are there any questions or motions? We have a motion by Commissioner Drum to approve, second by Commissioner Dougherty. Are there any further questions? If not, I would ask for a vote. Motion carries. This is a public hearing. Input from the public is welcomed. If you wish to speak on behalf of or in opposition to any of the cases that we hear, we would ask that you come to the podium and be recognized and do so. Consent calendar. Any items not pulled from the consent calendar are automatically dispensed by vote as approved and or as per staff comments. Items pulled from the consent calendar shall be discussed and voted upon individually. Ron, do you have any items which are to be pulled or postponed?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. On the second page, minor subdivision MS 1507-031 requires a waiver, so we need to have that pulled. Also, well, this is not on the consent. You want me to go over the other items to be postponed that are not on the consent?
Let's just do consent for right now.
All right.
Commissioners, Commissioner Matthews.
Yes, I know we have one gentleman here that would like to speak on one of the items on the consent calendar, and that being said, as usual, I would like to pull all of the items on the consent calendar.
Second.
A motion to pull all items and seconded. Second by Commissioner Davis. I would ask for a vote. Motion carries. Ron, do you have any other items that are going to be postponed throughout the entire, and then we'll get to the consent?
Yes, sir. On page 2, under revocations, revocation 15-07-001, the applicant requests tabling. And under final subdivision review, Wadsworth, developer also requests postponement indefinitely. Those are the two items.
Ron, would you repeat the second?
Yes, under final subdivisions, first one, Wadsworth, developer requests indefinite postponement.
Minor subdivisions.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I believe that first one, correct me if I'm wrong, Ron, is a postponement, not a tabling?
Yeah, that's correct. You talking about
Okay.
are you talking about the revocation or the
Yes,
Wadsworth?
revocation.
Yes, to be postponed, yes.
And the second one is the SD02, Wadsworth? Okay. Okay, well, let's vote on the postponements. First one being revocation 15-07-001, a revocation of a portion of South Azalea Drive, Flowers Estates Subdivision, Ward 1, District 1, applicant Viola Living Trust and Terry and Gary O'Brien, surveyor John G. Cummings and Associates, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Dean. This was postponed at the July 14, 2015 meeting. Staff has recommended postponement. Is there anyone from the audience who wishes to speak? Seeing none, I close it to the public. I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Matthews.
I would move to postpone till the next meeting. Ron, is that correct? They don't want to postpone
The
it?
revocation, yeah, just for 1 month. yes.
Okay, postpone it to our next meeting.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Matthews, a second by Commissioner Randolph. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I would ask for a vote for postponement. Motion carries. SD 02-07-019F, Wadsworth, Ward 4, District 5, developer owner, the Asbury Fund and Wadsworth Estates LLC, engineer GEC Inc., Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Gould. Postpone the July 14th, 2015 meeting. The developer requests postponement indefinitely. Staff, that is your recommendation as well? Postpone indefinitely? Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment? Seeing none, I close it to the public. I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Matthews.
I would like to postpone this one indefinitely.
So moved. Second by Commissioner Davis. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I would ask for a vote to postpone indefinitely. Motion carries. Thank you. We will go back to the consent calendar now. To the beginning, each will be heard. Entering parish right-of-way, servitudes and easements. Entering parish right-of-way, Oak Harbor, Landmark, and Marina Drives, Ward 9, District 12. Request to enter parish right-of-way for the purpose of laying fiber optic cable. The debtor, Hunt Telecom. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Jerry Bender. Staff.
This is for the purpose of laying fiber optic line on a short distance of Oak Harbor Boulevard and Landmark Drive.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment? Seeing no one, I close it to the public and I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Commissioner Casabon, second by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Matthews.
Is there anybody from Hunt Telecom here? I did have one question. They don't show up. It's hard to ask questions.
Is there any further discussion? We have a motion to approve and a second. Please vote. Motion carries. Entering parish right-of-way, Oshner Boulevard, Ward 1, District 1. Request to enter parish right-of-way for the purpose of laying fiber optic cable. Debtor, Hunt Telecom. Parish Council Representative, the Honorable Marty Dean. Staff?
While it's a little bit difficult to see on this drawing, basically what they're doing is putting fiber optic cable the entire length of Oshner Boulevard from Highway 21 to the highway intersection to the north of 1085.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment? Seeing none, I close it to the public. I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Davis?
A question for staff.
That $47,600 for performance letter of credit, is that based solely on linear feet? Is that what it's based on?
I believe so.
Okay, because I just noticed the previous one was very inexpensive and it was shorter, so I'm assuming
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that
Okay.
one was much, much shorter.
Okay, but it's all the same amount per linear foot for
It
each?
should be.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Matthews?
Again, I have a couple of questions I would have liked to have asked on telecom. I think we need to have these people come before us rather than just assume it's going to be passed. And, I mean, we're doing this now on the other items that come before us, and even these need to do it. And I think we shouldn't pass these. I think we ought to postpone them.
Thank you. Commissioner Casabon?
I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon, second by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Lauren?
They've made motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Casabon, second by Commissioner Willie to approve. Please vote. Motion carries. Entering Parish right-of-way, Henrietta Street, Ward 4, District 5. Request to enter Parish right-of-way for the purpose of laying and connecting sewer and water lines. The debtor, Relo DG LLC, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Gould. Staff?
This is for the purpose of laying a water line and sewer line down an unopened road right-of-way to Dollar General's development that's under construction right now.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment? If you would please come to the podium, state your name and address. One second, sir.
On the neck, there's a button. My name is Andrew Klein. My address is 129 Charter Street, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70130. We're here today to see if we can get a right-of-way through the parish dead-end street in order to service the Dollar General with sewer and water. Right now, at this time, I'd like to pass some items out to y'all. Do y'all have the site plans?
They should have most of that in the package.
Yes,
Okay, they don't
we have
have
site
this.
plans
Can
in
you
our
give this to me?
packages.
On this particular right-of-way, the owner of one of the properties has built a large shed on the right-of-way itself. Therefore, where it shows on the site plan where we have sewer line going there, the shed impedes us from putting the sewer line there. So I talked to the owner and met with Alan at Tammany Utilities, and he said that we could go ahead and put in the two water lines and the sewer line 6 foot apart in the west side of the property line where it says 3/4 inch water. And if you look at the pictures, the first picture shows where the right-of-way is. There is only underbrush right there. And we go between the storage shed that the gentleman built on the right-of-way and the fence. And we would have about 15 feet in which to put the sewer and the water through that area to give Dollar General sewer and water. The second page it shows you the storage shed, and the other page shows you the right-of-way, which is right in front of the storage shed where we could have run, but the shed's in the middle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor of this? To speak in favor, ma'am, or, okay. 1 second. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? And if you haven't filled out a speaker card, sir, we would ask when you're done you do so.
I believe that you have one in your possession already. I handed one to that lady there.
Okay, if you would state your name and address for the record.
Stanley LaGrange, the address 1204 Girard Street, located on that corner, running along the edge of this proposed right-of-way, which should be intended to pass through the back of my property. I would thank y'all for your kind attention and understanding, and just show you my point of view, and hope whether you rule for or against it, you at least understand where I'm coming from. Okay. I believe the ultimate intentions and goals is to put a full road through there in the long run. Now, I live on that corner of Girard and Caroline, and already passing on Highway 59 is a bunch of large 18-wheelers, and the house I'm living in is built on tiers. Before it was single individual tiers with nothing underneath them. It's built differently from what the code is today. And so the tremors that come from that road on Highway 59 are shaking my house, altering my foundations, and also they are messing with the sheetrock in my living room and messing with the levels of my floors. You know, you could drop a ball on the floor, and it's going to take off in another direction quick. All right, anyway, now this proposed long-term thing of supply trucks, 18-wheelers, if they are allowed to use this access of Henrietta Street, will be that 18-wheelers will be passing from the interstate, coming in front of my house within 100 feet, and then turning onto Caroline Street, and that would be within my house of, say, about 50 feet, and then making a turn into Henrietta Street, and I will be in a crescent of 18-wheelers circling my house. And that's just the ones coming from the interstate. There also might be trucks coming across the causeway, and they'll be turning onto Lafitte Street and then making their turn in there, which will affect other people that are here today interested in that. But anyway, I think it's just like the theory of the camel getting his nose under the tent. In other words, he gets his nose under the tent, it gets it extra warmer, and the Arab has to move a little bit out of the tent. And then later on, he's extra cold again. So he put the rest of himself out. In the long run, the Arab is sleeping outside of the tent, and the camel's got the whole tent occupied. And I think that's what their ultimate goal is, wanting to do, because they've already had a situation of Orleans Street with people there blocking roads with their big trucks and everything, and I think they're trying to take it for that real reason. All right, the purpose, there is a diagram, and I could probably dig it up right in here if I hadn't forgot it home. It's showing that water line and the 4-inch sewer line is separated on both ends of that road. Now, why would you go all the way close to 50 feet to separate those lines? Because passage of trucks over them lines is going to disrupt them and break them. So you avoid that by putting them on the either ends. That diagram shows that. Now, I haven't given you a copy of that, but it is there. But anyway, also think about this. That land was purchased by my great-grandfather in 1946. And since then, that land has been used for chicken coops. The wire of the fence of that chicken coop is still standing right now. It's still there. It's been there since back in those days. All right. Also, 5 pecan trees were planted on that property, 4 of which are in this section there of the Henrietta Street. And the shed that the gentleman that spoke before me has mentioned has been built before 1960, because I remember going in that shed in around 1960 and seeing my grandmother digging in one of these wash tubs with a bayonet to plant tomato plants in that wash tub. And there's been generations of LaGrange, Quintana, and Neal family that have made use of those pecans from those trees. That road going through will destroy and take those trees away. And there's already been about a half a dozen trees that have been taken out on this property that has been purchased by Dollar General, big, full-grown, mature trees that have gone. And in recent years, I have seen squirrels in that property, up to a dozen at a time, taking pecans also. So it's also affecting the wildlife in the area if those 4 trees are taken out. And I'm left with just one further up into the property. All right, that is to be considered. And
you, sir.
also,
I would ask you, sir, you have a total of 10 minutes for all of you that want to speak. You have 4 minutes remaining. So I would ask that you might want to yield the floor to others who would like to speak as well. But that's your choice.
all right, well, I'll just make another quick thing. You know, on the deeds, and this is something else you might want to consider as to where I'm coming from, is that when the property was purchased in October 1946 by my great-grandfather Kuntz, on the deed there also is a statement, a paragraph that says, there is also transferred to the vendee herein 1/2 of the alley of the aforesaid subdivision, which is adjacent to lots 17, 18, and 19. That is my land, 17, 18, and 19. The same forming a piece of ground which is 25 feet in width and with 93 feet, 9 inches in depth, up into, I'd say, the Dollar General property, you know, that length. All right, this is on the deed in 1946 by my great-grandfather. Now, this is my deed here, and there's also been a few deeds in between that say the same sort of thing. And this is dated March 15th of 1988, when I purchased the property from my grandmother's estate. And it also says here in a paragraph, also included is 1/2 of the alley or street of aforementioned subdivision, which is adjacent to lots 17, 18, and 19, same forming a piece of ground which is 25 feet in width, 93 feet, 9 inches long in depth, such width of 25 feet. Half of it should be going toward me, and the other half goes to the gentleman that has the brick house just on the other side of this proposed road. Now,
Sir, I'd ask you to close now, so make a final statement, because I'm going to yield the floor to others, because now you only have 2 minutes remaining for opposition.
well, final statement, I would like to say is a challenge and a strong suggestion that the gentleman from Dollar General step up this microphone right now and drop all this proposal and nonsense and allow us all to go
Sir,
home.
first of all, address the commission solely. Do not address someone in the audience. Address the commission. And we thank you for your comments very much. And I would ask for the next person to come up. Thank you, sir.
My name is Victoria Warren. I'm at 1201 Lafitte Street. The property that's in question, the property that Dollar General is building on, number one was advertised as highway commercial. It is actually zoned NC4, which is neighborhood commercial. Wanted to make sure that that's clear, that it is, that you have that in there, because there are certain restrictions, and I'm not even sure this store complies with those restrictions. Because a lot of people think that's highway commercial, but it is not. I have the zoning, and it is NC4, neighborhood commercial, which has a lot of restrictions. And number two, someone was going to check on a clear-cut permit, because that lot has been clear-cut. There are no trees left except for maybe 1 or 2 on each side, and maybe 3 or 4 along the back. And if this is allowed to plow through, there'll be no trees left. You'll see nothing but clear sky and the Dollar General sign, because that's all that's left on the back of that lot, or some trees on the back of Mr. LaGrange's property. If they take that out, you know, you're ruining the integrity of the area. So I just ask that perhaps there's more time and double-check the zoning and make sure it is correct. And, I mean, none of us, we've lived there for years, and none of us have even ever heard of Henrietta Street. It's not on any map. It's not advertised except on this right-of-way. So we'd like more information about where this street is and if it can be made a street again. I think that's important information for the property owners to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Sir? And if you would make your comments fairly brief.
Hi,
Thank you.
Dr. Don C. Elbers, 2100 Caroline Street. I've lived at 2100 Caroline Street for approximately 37 years, and my major concern is, do we know if the intention of having truck traffic on Henrietta Street? Because if there is an intention of doing that, I would oppose tremendously. The streets are narrow. Presently, large trucks, buses can't make the turns. Even the garbage trucks don't make the turns. They are damaging the corners. They hit the stop signs.
Right now, what's in front of the commission is a right-of-way to put piping down that road. That's what we have in front of
Well,
us.
my
this evening.
concern, and I'd like to have some assurance that there's no intent to have truck traffic in that area.
All we can address tonight, sir, is the fact of what's placed in front of the commission. That's all that would be in future potential discussions, as zoning would be a zoning issue. As a planning authority, what's in front of us is a request for granting a right-of-way.
And that right-of-way can't go off of Highway 59? I understand there's water available on 59.
That would be something that engineering would have looked at. As I can say, what's in front of this commission is specifically this request.
Okay, well, again, I'd like to express my concern about any future possible heavy truck traffic in the neighborhood.
Well noted. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to ask a question.
First,
what
please state your name.
Guarantee would my son have that after 3 years, that they wouldn't have squatters' rights on his property? That all they would have to do is go to the courthouse and sign a title. He's not getting nothing for this. And also, they came on his property and did this and that and all, and he was deprived of his Fourth Amendment rights. They never even come knocked on his door. I don't think that that's fair.
I will defer to our counsel, ma'am, to give some, shed some light to your question.
Okay.
Thank you.
My appreciation of this case is that we are speaking about Henrietta Street as a parish right-of-way. In other words, the parish at the very least has a servitude on this portion, and perhaps staff can enlighten the commission a little bit more about the status of Henrietta Street as a right-of-way. But that what's before the commission is that Henrietta Street is a parish right-of-way, and therefore anybody who is going to access that right-of-way essentially is required to get the parish's permission in which to do so. The case before the commission tonight is an application for access in the parish right-of-way for purposes of laying sewage and water lines. The mere placement of sewage and water lines does not give the owner of those lines any ownership rights or use rights beyond what is given to them by the commission on that, again, strip of parish right-of-way. I hope that answers your question.
Sir, if you would like to step up to the microphone for rebuttal. You can have up to 5 minutes.
Yes, sir. Henrietta Street is a dead-end street, so I don't see how it does not go to McNamara. It only goes to a certain point, which stops at behind Dollar General's property. So there would be no reason at all to put in a through street and stop. You wouldn't have a turnaround to get out unless you use Dollar General's property. So we have no intention in putting any right-of-way through Henrietta Street. As for sewer and water, the sewer and the water comes from behind Lafitte toward 59. So that's why we contacted St. Tammany Utilities Incorporated to find sewer and water, the closest location to the property. And the closest location to that property would be through Henrietta Street. It's 325 feet from the nearest manhole going down and going up 59. With the widening of 59 by the state, there is no more servitudes. There is optic lines and there is Cleco telephone poles. So you have a street, you have a ditch, and you have a property line. So it is impossible to put any kind of sewer or water along that line. You would have to go on someone's property to put the sewer and water. That's why everything is coming from the back of the subdivision. Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in opposition which cares to make a rebuttal?
Just like the new poles put on the front of the property, 2 brand-new telephone poles. One of them has 3 transformers on it and electric, and it's coming in from the front from 59. I can't understand with all that open space and frontage along that property that it can't come through with a 4-inch sewer line and with 2 water lines, which is laid out on Henrietta, supposedly laid out on Henrietta Street, one of 1 inch and one of 3/4 inch. They cannot come in through the front when there's water lines passing through along 59 right across the highway. Could be drilled right under that road and come right through. I still think the ultimate goal in the long run is that 50-foot passage for the delivery trucks.
Thank you, sir.
And I won't be convinced otherwise. And having to live next to it, you can understand what I'm going to have to put up with if it's allowed to go through.
Thank you for your comments, sir.
You're welcome.
This time, I'm going to close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Davis?
Question for staff. Are we absolutely positive this is a parish right-of-way?
It's our understanding that this is a parish right-of-way. I don't have any evidence that it's not.
When you say understanding,
I haven't researched this personally. The surveyor shows it as a right-of-way. If it was revoked, it would have had to have been recorded that we gave it up. Just because it's on somebody's title doesn't mean that we gave away the right-of-way. Somebody could have placed that, back in the 1940s without asking us. So, I can certainly pass that on and, make sure we verify that that is our right-of-way before we.
well, obviously, for this gentleman's
Sure.
sakes too, we should probably verify it, that it is a right-of-way. But let's say it is a right-of-way.
Okay.
Does that mean the gentleman's shed can be torn down?
Yes, with that on a parish right-of-way, we could ask him at any time if we wish to remove the shed. And it would be at his burden and expense. For any reason we wanted.
Without having information to purely understand if this is a true right-of-way and if it's still existing, I'm going to have a problem voting on this.
Commissioner Matthews?
Yeah, Paul, he's got a deed supposedly from the 1940s telling him that his grandfather owns half of this alley. I'm concerned that there might be an inquisitive prescription on that. I don't know when the parish got this right of way, if they did get this right of way. It is, I'm sorry, sir, it's close to the public. It does not look like it's an actual street at this time. It looks like it's somebody's yard. I'm seriously concerned about that we'd be granting a right of way on property that may or may not be owned by the parish. And from what you said, you didn't check it out. Some surveyor put it on a plat someplace, and it may be right, it may not be right. We don't know that, you don't know that. I think we need to find out before we encroach on this gentleman's property. The other question, though, it's a zoning question, and not really addressed tonight, but it's something I think somebody with the parish needs to check. If it's zoned NC4, is this store appropriate? If it is, fine. If it's not, well, we have another problem on the zoning side. But I would make a motion to postpone till next month until we have a definitive answer as to whether Henrietta Street is in fact a parish right-of-way.
I'll second that.
We have a motion by Commissioner Matthews to postpone, a second by Commissioner Davis. At this time, Commissioner Casabon, would you like to
I
speak?
just want some clarification. Who is going to do this checking? Is it, you're asking our staff to go in and look at the files? I think this is one of those cases like the ox lots in Covington that in the 40s that different right-of-ways were there and stuff. So you're asking staff to go in and research any more than by what means are you going to do that you haven't already done?
Well, we could check the clerk of court to see if there's anything recorded to revoke that right-of-way. That's part of the town of Mandeville subdivision.
Correct.
So it would have been recorded, I don't remember if that subdivision was 1917 or 1918. But if it was revoked between then and the 1940s, that should be recorded.
Okay. But it's,
In the
the
courthouse.
burden's on y'all to do this. Okay.
Are there any further questions by the commission regarding postponement? And again, Commissioner Casabon, that was a very relevant question for that. If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Matthews and a second by Commissioner Davis to postpone until next month. Please vote. The motion to postpone until next month carries. Minor subdivisions. MS 15-07-030, Lot 1, R1, Lot 1 through R1 into lots 1-R, 1-A, 4-R, BA-1, and 5. Ward 9, District 14. Owner, Rotolo Consultants, Inc., Surveyor Kelly McCune and Associates, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable T.J. Smith. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason why we have to have a public hearing for this is they're re-subdividing a parcel further within an existing minor subdivision of record. The owner is proposing to create 2 additional parcels within an existing minor subdivision relative to Lot 1-R1. Additionally, since the minor subdivision post-division will have a total of 5 lots, the internal private drive that you see on your survey plat, the little circular area, will have to be constructed to a parish standard pursuant to Section 40-045.01, minimum construction standards for private drive of subdivision regulatory ordinance 499. The owner is complying with all parish code requirements. Therefore, the staff has no objections to the proposed minor subdivision amendment, subject to the private drive being constructed and approved by the Department of Engineering prior to the survey plat being recorded for public record.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm, P.O. Box 1810 in Covington. I represent the owner and petitioner, Rotolo Consultants, Inc. We're in full accord with the staff comments and ask that you approve this amendment to our minor subdivision.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to comment in favor of this? Is there anyone who wishes to comment in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Matthews.
Jeff, one very quick question. It looks like Lot 1R, 1A is a kind of a unusual shaped lot. Is that going to be correct?
Well, a
Looks
little,
like the street runs
a
through
little
it.
unusual. I mean, it is not a perfect rectangle, that's obvious. But it has what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I guess, 8 sides, 8-sided. But that's,
And part of it is going to be separated by this street?
well, it's a private drive
Yeah.
that runs over Lot 1R1A. That
Okay.
is correct. It's not a public right-of-way.
No, I
but-
understand that.
Yeah, that's correct.
Part of it is separated by this drive. So is your client planning coming back to break this piece out as another lot, do you know?
No, for one, well, a couple of reasons. Number one, 5 lots are the maximum in a minor subdivision.
Okay.
So if we wanted to go beyond that, we'd have to obviously go through your subdivision process.
Okay.
But we've already built a warehouse. This is a landscape business at that location. And I think this configuration, famous last words, but it should be the final reconfiguration of this site.
Okay. I make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Matthews to approve, second by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Lauren. Commissioner Dougherty.
I got a question for staff, and Ron read it in there on the, next to the last sentence. On my staff report, it says, subject to the private being constructed, but you read in private drive.
Yes, I just added the word drive, yes, sir.
Yeah, should
That-
have the word drive in there, so.
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Commissioner Matthews, a second by Commissioner Randolph to approve. I would ask for a vote. Motion carries. MS 15-07-031, lots 1A and 3A into lots 1A1, 1A2, Ward 4, District 5. Owner N59 Ventures LLC, the surveyor Randall W. Brown and Associates, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Gould. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reason for a public hearing for this particular minor subdivision is that one of the properties are going to end up being under a 1-acre minimum lot size requirement. The owner is proposing to reconfigure 2 lots, which is Lot 1A and 3A, into 2 lots, where proposed Lot 1A1 will be assimilated into Lot 3A, while at the same time losing a .534 acres by creating a new parcel, which is Lot A2, which is under the 1-acre minimum. The staff would usually support a request to adjust lot lines whereby no new net number of lots would be created. However, since proposed Lot 1A2 does not meet the minimum 1-acre lot size requirement, the staff does not support the the minor subdivision request. However, it should be noted that the parcel is zoned HC2, Highway Commercial, which normally would permit parcels of less than 1 acre in size, if not for having to comply with the minor subdivision 1-acre requirement. Additionally, a waiver of the regulations is required in order to approve the minor subdivision request relative to the lot size issue. Therefore, a 2/3 majority vote of the full membership of the Planning Commission, 8 members, is required in order to approve pursuant to Section 40-100, waiver of regulations of Ordinance 499.
Thank you. Mr. Soche?
Members of the Commission, Mike Soche. I am a managing member for N59 Ventures LLC, address 109 New Camellia Boulevard, Suite 100, Covington, Louisiana. As Mr. Keller stated, we are still complying with the 5-lot scenario under the minor subdivision request. About a year ago, y'all approved the creation of Lot 4A, on which Smoothie King presently exists, directly across the street. We did have one large lot there where 4A and 1A2 existed when we had proposed to put a Rouse Food Store here, which y'all aware has gone away for the time being. We now have Domino's Pizza, who has a very similar, almost identical mirror image concept to Smoothie King. Domino's, as you know, typically has been a delivery facility. They now have drive-through. step up and deliveries, very similar to Smoothie King. So we were fortunate in order to have them. We had hoped that maybe they had been able to get this store into the previous request, but they had to kick it into 2015, this particular project. And so we have the infrastructure in place to do this, the water sewer, the common drive that services these two lots. Again, we do have HC2 zoning here. The lot size would comply with that. The simple situation here is that we, under the minor subdivision creation, the lot would typically have to be 1 acre in size. So we are giving up Lot 3A and so that we stay within that 5-lot minimum. And Domino's building will be very similar to Smoothie King's from an aesthetic standpoint, and we appreciate your consideration of this request.
Thank you, Mr. Soche. Is there anyone else in the public who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Casabon.
Yes, Don, you said that it'll have a common drive. That means just one off of 59,
Yes, the drive that's in place there now will service these two properties.
both properties. So we
Correct.
won't have to, that idea I like. I don't have a problem with this. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Casabon to approve, second by Commissioner Randolph. Commissioner Dougherty.
Mr. Soche, you said that there is a driveway already in place,
Correct.
so you already got the permission from the state to, and everything on that?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, part of that driveway exists across this lot line, and we received a variance for that internal property line when we did the Smoothie King
Okay, and then
deal.
lot 1A1 is gonna access off of 59, or you gonna access off East Coop Drive?
The driveway between Lot 4A and Lot 1A2 goes all the way through, so it will provide access to Lot 1A1 via a cross-access agreement, and we also, yes, have frontage on Coop Drive.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Matthews.
Just two things. One, that we have an identical lot, the same exact size, actually even a little bit smaller, right adjacent to this, so this should fit right in. And although, Mr. Soche, I'm a little disappointed that you didn't bring pizza.
Well, we can take care of that shortly.
No, he's
Commissioner
just kidding.
Dave.
He's just kidding.
Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, Mr. Soche. So you're gonna have your total 5 lots in here, and that's great and everything. This area between Lot 1A, after construction of this area, Lot 1A2, and the Popeyes lot.
Mm-hmm.
What's gonna happen in there?
We are currently negotiating with a group that wants 1.07 acres, so that lot would be deeper in that area, but we don't know. We have not given up our hopes of getting Rouse back to the table here, and if that occurs, then that would just become part of their parking lot. They would want some frontage on the highway. So, as this project progresses, we may have to come back to you guys and go through the full subdivision approval if things start to change from this particular plan.
Yeah, now staff, wouldn't that exceed the limit of having 5 lots?
What's what I'm saying, he would have to go through a regular
The whole-
subdivision process,
okay.
right?
All right,
I'm sure he'd be happy to do it.
thank you.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Commissioner Casabon, a second by Commissioner Randolph. Is there any further discussion? If not, I would ask for a vote. And reminded, we need 8 votes. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Petitions, requests, none. Entering the Tammany trace, none. Revocations, closing review. The only case we had there was postponed. Re-subdivision review, none. Dormant subdivisions review, none. Tentative subdivision review, none. Final subdivision review. First case has been postponed. Second, SD 05-08-021F1A7. Okay. Terabella, Phase 1A, 7, Ward 1, District 1, developer owner, Terabella Group, LLC, the engineer, Kelly McHugh and Associates, Inc., Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Dean. Staff?
Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction. The final inspection was made on July 24th, 2015. The inspection disclosed that all asphalt roads are constructed, road shoulders are constructed, and the asphalt curb gutter is constructed. The following uncompleted items exist at the time of final inspection will be completed before the plats are signed. A is okay. B, temporary signage is in place. Permanent signage is required before warranty obligation can be released. C is okay. D is okay. E is okay. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of $24,500 for a period of 1 year. The staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request subject to the developer complying with all comments. No plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. No mandatory developmental fees are required at this time since the developer has entered into a voluntary developmental agreement and has paid all current fees.
Thank you. Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Manella. Paul Marone on behalf of the Terabella Group LLC. This is Terabella Phase 1A7. I believe that we've addressed all of the punch list items in their entirety, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have, but otherwise would respectfully request your approval this evening.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak on this particular case? If not, I'll close it to the public and bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren?
Yes. This is one of the nicest developments in the parish as far as I'm concerned. It meets a very unique need. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Lauren to approve, a second by Commissioner Casabon. Commissioner Matthews.
Just one question. Did you all say that the permanent signage is in or not?
We have the temporary signage is up, and the permanent signage has to be up by the time the warranty obligation is released.
Do you have any idea when that might be?
When the warranty obligation will be released?
Permanent signage.
Well, one of the holdups was that we were waiting on the passage of the new sign ordinance.
Okay.
And before we ordered those signs.
Just want to say, this is the way we like to see a request for final with virtually nothing on it. We want to thank you and the Terabella Group for doing this. Please convey to them our appreciation for doing it the right way. Thank you.
We will do that. Thank you.
Commissioner Dougherty?
Mr. Marone, sorry. The maintenance of the pond, yeah, don't go sit down, yeah.
It'll work
The
out
dollar
tonight.
amount for maintaining the ponds, where is that figure located? It's not in the restrictive covenants.
The dollar amount for maintaining the ponds by the association?
Yeah.
Well, that will be an ongoing obligation that will fluctuate to some extent. So that would be part of the overall budget for the association that they would put in place each year. So it will depend on what's needed in any given year. Some years it may be nothing. Other years it may be somewhat significant if the pond needs to be reworked or something along those lines.
Okay, so that, but every deed that is issued doesn't have a dollar figure in it. It just says to be set by the association or something like that?
That's correct. There's a master set of restrictive covenants for this development that I would say is about 50 pages long. It is extremely detailed, and it provides for any number of issues, but one of which is the governance of the common property of which the ponds would be, and the mechanisms for funding the maintenance of those items. And every deed, every owner is subject to those deed restrictions when they acquire their parcel.
Okay, and the other question is kind of for staff. We're using the term mobile home, and I think we're kind of trying to get away from the mobile home term and go to a manufactured home. And that what we are really seeing today is that they're not mobile homes, they're manufactured homes.
I believe you're talking about in the required restrictive covenants
Yeah.
on the plat. That language is in there by ordinance in the subdivision ordinance, so that'll have to be revised by the council in order to change that language.
Okay, because, well, like I said, it used to be mobile homes, and we're moving towards manufactured housing now. So.
I understand, but any revision of that language will have to go through the
All right, Mr.
council.
Manella, you want to try and bounce that one up to the council?
I'm still waiting, the three of us are waiting for our last submission. Is there any further discussion? If not, we have a motion by Commissioner Lauren and a second by Commissioner Casabon to approve. Please vote. Motion carries. SD 04-02-007F4. Natchez Trace, Phase 4, Ward 1, District 1. Developer owner, Lonesome Development. Engineer, Kelly McHugh and Associates, Inc. Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Dean. Staff?
Periodic inspections have been made by this office during construction, and the final inspection was made on July 30th, 2015. The inspection disclosed that all concrete roads are constructed, road shoulders are constructed, and curb gutter is constructed. The following uncompleted items exist at the time of final inspection will be completed before the plats are signed. A is okay. B, need traffic signs. C, provide Tammany Utilities with a complete set of water and sewer as-built plans, a negative bacteriological report relative to the construction of the project's water system has not been issued by the DHH and OPH as required by the subdivision ordinance. A letter of acceptance and responsibility for the perpetual maintenance and operation of the water and sewer system has not been issued by the utility providers required. Should the Planning Commission approve the request for final approval, a warranty obligation will be required for the infrastructure in the amount of $14,400 for a period of 1 year. Staff recommends approval of the proposed final subdivision request subject to the developer complying with all comments and no plats to be signed until all items are satisfactorily completed. No mandatory developmental fees are required since the public hearing was held prior to January 1st, 2005.
Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeff Shane of Jones Fussell Law Firm in Covington, P.O. Box 1810, and I represent the owner developer. I can give you an update with regard to the open items because I understand, of course, that you're trying to make sure that all of these items are in good order. With regard to item 2B, all of the temporary signs are in place, and a similar discussion that you had with Mr. Marone in waiting for the sign ordinance to be finalized in order to order the permanent signs, but I'm confident that they'll be ordered as soon as it's appropriate to order them and will be put up shortly thereafter. With regard to item C, I'm happy to advise that those plans were delivered to Tammany Utilities last Thursday, August the 6th. I cannot tell you what the status of that review is, but I do know that they have in fact been provided, and those are as-built plans confirming that they're signed and stamped by our engineer, confirming that everything has been built as per. With regard to item D, I am happy to report that the samples were in fact taken by DH&H and that the samples passed. I don't know that that report has been received yet, and I apologize for that, but we knew that that would be information that you would want. My general contractor, I think our general contractor actually got that information, but we were advised either Friday or Monday that, again, the tests were taken, that the samples passed, and I assume that documentation, if not in office yet, is en route. With that having been said, I would hope that you would grant final and understand that the plats won't be signed and recorded until those things are received.
Thank you, Mr. Shane. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to comment? Seeing none, I close it to the public. I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Davis to approve, a second by Commissioner Matthews. Commissioner Dougherty.
Mr. Shane, is there a master set of restrictive covenants on this one as well?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
There are.
Commissioner Matthews.
Just want to say 2 in a row, that's good. Just like the way we like to see them. And Jeff, if you'd convey to your principal, at least my appreciation for doing it the right way.
Ditto.
We have a motion by Commissioner Davis, a second by Commissioner Matthews to approve. Please vote. Motion carries. Proposed amendments to Ordinance 499. An ordinance to amend St. Tammany Parish Code of Ordinances, Appendix B, Chapter 40 of Subdivision Regulation Ordinance Number 499, Street Identifications and Traffic Control Signs, in order to incorporate updated standards. Department of Engineering to discuss. Staff?
This amendment is to incorporate the standards outlined in the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices, the MUTCD, and the AASHTO Roadside Design Guide.
Breaking the rules back there. Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to comment? Mr. Hernandez.
Thank you. That was quite an explanation on that. Let me just say that Ms. Odell remembers this. Once upon a time, I used to volunteer in Slidell, and I used to spend time in the engineering office first before going into the planning office because they would open first. Engineering did. And some of the things that I did, actually, when I was there, was that I read some of these manuals. And so I'm familiar with the manuals. I believe I've read the updates on these. And my question really is a question for the subdivision that I live in. The date that's in here, referenced in here, is November 1st, 2015, which is a date, assuming everything goes well, that everything should fall into place. However, those of us in the subdivision where the signs do not meet regulations, and we're getting ready to refurbish our signs. And our signs, and it's interesting that specifically in here they reference that no wood borders or wood posts are allowed, which is exactly what we have in our subdivision. And assuming that if we were to proceed and have ours refurbished, assuming it's before November 1st, of 2015, would we still be in compliance and there wouldn't be any problems in doing that? I guess that's my question.
Once that deadline passes, you're not going to be able to use wood posts, no.
So after November 1, they'd have to remove them, or if they do any replacement after that date?
If they have them in place before that date, then they're allowed to stay, and if they replace them at a later date, then they will have to replace them with
the new material?
Yeah, with the new materials.
So if we proceed with refurbishing, then obviously as long as it's before November 1st, we should be okay in doing that, unless someone hits it after November 1st, and then we would have to replace it with the new standards. And that's the way I understand it.
Correct.
Correct.
That's as staff has purported to us.
I didn't hear you. What was the question?
Mr. Hernandez had asked the fact that prior to November 1, any replacement or refurbishing can be in like-kind materials to it as today, ergo wood, but subsequent to November 1, it would have to then comply any replacement or repairs to the new standard.
That I'd have to look into it further, but I believe if they were going to repair in like kind, then they could continue to keep putting the wood posts up one at a time. But if they were going to replace all the signs in the subdivision, then they would have to update and go with the new posts.
Sounds like you would like more clarity on that. Yeah.
Yes,
if staff would for the following meeting get more clarity and also forward clarity to Mr. Hernandez as well, so that the public is absolutely clear that prior to that date, if they're repairing or replacing, they can do it in like kind. But what happens afterwards? If a post was taken down, do they have to now use a new material that they could not go back on that particular post with wood product, but they would have to replace that one with whatever the new one? Or does it apply that if they were to replace everything, then they would have to comply with the new standard? I think that clarity is appropriate on that. Okay. Commissioner Matthews?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Why are we saying you cannot use wood?
That was just what was agreed upon. They did not want wood.
I couldn't hear you, I'm sorry.
That's what was agreed upon. Wood was not one of the materials we wanted
Who
to
agreed
use.
to that?
I believe Public Works doesn't like to have the wood signs to have to replace them.
Okay, if we have a private subdivision that owns its own signs, you have a provision in here that says that they would ultimately have to replace them with aluminum or metal signs.
Yes,
And you all don't replace them.
right, that's true.
The subdivision replaces them, but you're going to require that subdivision to have metal signs.
Yeah, if they replace all the signs in the subdivision, yes.
But you can't say it's because Public Works doesn't want to replace them.
That's true.
Because Public Works doesn't replace them.
Right.
So why are we saying that a private subdivision cannot use wood since they're the ones that replace them?
What's that? It may be in the MUTCD or the AASHTO roadside design guide that they're not allowed. I'd have to look into that.
It may be in, you said it may be in those regulations?
Yes, it may be in those regulations that it's not allowed, and that's why
Okay,
we put it
so
in the
we
ordinance.
don't know why we're saying they can't use wood.
Right, I can't tell you that right now.
Okay. We need to find that out, because I know I'm in a private subdivision, and we have wood signs, wood posts. And there's going to be hell to pay if you tell them they have to put up metal. They're all going to be sitting on the front steps here, because we just replaced them with that, and we had a fight over trying to change anything. They want them the way they are. And I have a problem with coming in and telling a private subdivision that owns their own streets and owns their own signs that the parish is telling them what they can and cannot have. I think at that point, the parish is gaining some responsibility for the signs if you're telling me exactly what I have to have. That concerns me.
Well, if it is in the MUTCD, then we are required to make them follow it, whether or not it's a parish or a private subdivision. So I will look into that and find the answer out for you. But if
Okay.
it's in the MUTCD, then it doesn't matter whether it's a private or a public subdivision. It
But
needs
at-
to comply with that.
From what I read in here, as long as they do not replace all of them, they can go back in kind.
If they were grandfathered in previous to
Yeah.
this date,
Okay, so the subdivision with 300 street signs and traffic signs replaces 299 of them, they're good.
we wouldn't let them come back and replace 299. If they
No,
were
They
replacing,
haven't replaced them all.
okay,
That's a problem.
very true.
Next year, they'll replace that last one, and they're in. So you've already put in a problem for you guys by the wording in this thing. So I think you might want to rethink some of the verbiage in here and what we're doing and why, because I think you're going to have a problem.
Commissioner Loring?
I have to echo, I think it's one thing to have these kind of rules and regulations for streets and right-of-ways that are installed, manufactured, whatever you want to call it, provided by the parish. I think it's a totally different thing when you start getting into private subdivisions like Beauchene, Trefunkta Estates. Let's call some subdivisions by name. There are many others that have got some very unique, pressure-treated, wooden street signs, traffic signs, speed limit signs, stop signs, the whole 9 yards, that are made out of, again, out of pressure-treated wood. They're painted. They're not run-of-the-mill aluminum reflective street signs. Where the public dollar is used to provide school bus transportation, they won't come into these private subdivisions. When there's a hurricane that comes along and the trees are blown down and you have to clear the subdivision and get the lumber out to get the blown trees down, the public dollar will come in and take care of the public streets, but they won't go into the private subdivisions. The police and the sheriff's department don't normally patrol inside private subdivisions. I just have a real problem when we start trying to legislate within the private subdivision what they can and cannot do. Big problem.
Okay.
Commissioner Dougherty.
Yes, sir. Where these references are to the MUTDC and the AASHTO, is there a way that on the parish website that these two set of standards can be linked so that John Q. Public can go in and actually look at these? Or do they have to come into the engineering public works in order to find out what these are?
I don't know how to link them on the website, but I can look into that to see if it's something that can be done. I know the MUTCD is a free guide that is available on the website or on the web that anybody can find. You just have to know what you're looking for.
It would be good if we could link it, and I'm sure that some of our folks are a lot smarter than I am on how to do it, and they can do it. On the colors, on the parish signs, historically, we've used blue background with yellow lettering. So
Correct.
We're getting away from that?
Yes.
Okay, are we going to use basically one color?
We're going to use blue background with white lettering.
Okay, all right. And over, I don't know what page it is, but it's on item J. The first sentence, the last word, it says warn, W-O-R-N, and it should be warn, W-A-R-N. That's just
Under item J, where is that located?
the first sentence,
End of roadway markers.
item J.
Correct. Yeah, we'll make that
Okay.
correction.
That's just something I picked up, and we talked about existing signs, and item L, all the way down at the bottom, the third sentence, it begins with within a reasonable time. Are we gonna define reasonable, or who's going to set the time?
That would be at the parish's discretion as to what
That'd be who?
the parish.
Well, I think we ought to state
Something
what a
better.
reasonable time is. Is it 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Otherwise, I think it's kind of, well, it was reasonable to me, it might not be reasonable to you. And let's see. That's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Matthews.
Yeah, I'd like to agree with Mr. Doherty. The time, reasonable doesn't tell anybody anything, and it's going to be left up to somebody in the parish, whoever that may be. You may get an unreasonable person in that position, and we need to do something better with that. Also, under B, on the second page here, it says under street name signs, that the lettering will use standard alphabet. What is the standard alphabet?
Where under item B are you looking at?
Under item B, B as in boy, street name signs, on the second page. It says lettering, use the standard alphabet. What is a standard alphabet? I'm sure I know what you think it is.
Okay.
I think that's referring to not using foreign characters or letters,
Okay.
no umlauts, things like that.
Okay, but that's called a Roman alphabet, not a standard alphabet?
Okay. We can.
Okay, you need to change that. And under D, the speed limit signs, speed limit shown shall be in multiples of 5 miles an hour. Why is that? There's a group of people that think that the idea of making an odd number, 7 miles an hour, 3 miles an hour, or the like, is conducive to people seeing it and slowing down to it.
Okay.
So
I believe that's in the MUTCD is called out that it'll be in 5 mile an hour increments.
well, is that something we have to do,
If it's in the MUTCD, it is.
even if it's not right?
Yes.
Wow, okay. You need to take a look and make sure that that's in there, because, like I say, there's a whole body of traffic people that think having odd numbers of miles an hour is important and works very well. With the problems that we've all discussed, I think it would be right for us to postpone this for 1 month. And I so move.
We have a motion by Commissioner Matthews to postpone for 1 month, a second by Commissioner Dougherty. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I would ask for a vote. Motion for postponement carries. Old business, SD 14-05-004P, the Estates of Watercross, Ward 1, District 1, developer owner, Allstate Financial Company, engineer, Duplantis Design Group, PC, Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Dean. Request by developer to have the drainage fee recalculated. Staff?
This is related to the way the impact fees are calculated. Engineering does it based on the literal wording of the ordinance, where we calculate the entire acreage of the parcel. In this case, there's a lot of green space that's not going to be developed. So the developer requested that not be calculated, as the commission's done for other developments in the past.
Thank you. Mr. Morone?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Maroon on behalf of Allstate Financial and Mr. Weiner. This is a similar request that you've had in other developments where we have a property that's in the lower third of the basin, and as a result, there's no detention that is required, but rather a fee in lieu of detention is calculated based on the impact or the project. In this case, the entire project is 80.37 acres. Only 47.32 acres are being impacted or disturbed in any way. The remaining acreage is all being left in its existing state. In fact, much of that property is going to be subject to a conservation servitude that quite likely will run in favor of the parish as well. And ultimately, much of this property may be donated to the parish as part of the Children's Museum and other property in the area. But what we're requesting this evening is that the calculation on the fee in lieu of detention be modified so that it is based on that area of the property that is impacted rather than the entire area, since so much of the area is not impacted at all. So we would respectfully request your approval of the recalculation as you've done in other cases with situations similar to this.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak as well? Seeing none, I close it to the public. I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Randolph to approve, second by Commissioner Loren. Commissioner Matthews.
We have routinely done this in a number of cases, and once it got to the council, I think they all approved it. My problem is, why are we making these people do this? The developer shouldn't have to come back to us every time and ask for permission. This ought to be something they know up front. They're either going to get to do this or they're not going to get to do this. I think something needs to be changed so our developers can not worry about a problem like this that's going to generally be taken care of. But Mr. Marone has to be paid and has time here. I'm sure he's happy to have the time, but the developer probably isn't happy about it. And we need to change this. This is just an extra problem for our developers that we don't need.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It'll take a revision to the subdivision ordinance in order to avoid this problem in the future.
Is that in the works?
I don't know. I will ask.
Okay, that ought to be in the works with a lot of other things, but that's something that ought to be in the works. I think it's just unfair to our developers to do this.
We have a motion by Commissioner Randolph and a second by Commissioner Lauren, and let me remind the commission that this will take a 2/3 vote or 8 votes of the commission to carry. I would ask for a vote. Motion carries. MS 15-12-069, a 1.14 acre parcel in the lots 1 through 4, Ward 4, District 5. The owner, C. Herberger, LLC, Surveyor Kelly McHugh and Associates, Inc., Parish Council District Representative, the Honorable Marty Gould. Request by owner to temporarily waive the private drive construction standard as it relates to the first lot fronting a public road. Staff?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, the owner of this property, Corey Hirschberger LLC, if you recall, back in the December of 2014, got a minor subdivision approved by the commission, and it was a 4-lot subdivision, which was required for them to construct a roadway to parish standards from Highway 36 back to the back of the property. Mr. Herberger, is what I understand, is in the process, and his representative here will explain in more detail, but my understanding is the roadway is under construction. However, he has a client or a prospective purchaser of some property who wants to construct on the first lot that has public road frontage on Highway 36. The commission in the past has approved minor subdivisions subject to a waiver to allow a temporary delay in the construction of a roadway in the case where a lot has public road frontage, as long as a occupancy permit is not issued. So under the circumstances, the staff has no objection to that same request, that he be allowed to build on Lot 1 and get a permit from the parish that has public road frontage on Highway 36, subject to him not receiving an occupancy permit until the roadway for all 4 lots has been completed and approved by the engineering department.
Thank you. Mr. Marone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul Marone again on behalf of the petitioner for this particular matter. As Mr. Keller laid out, the request to you this evening is to temporarily waive the construction of the roadway for the minor subdivision. I would characterize our situation a little bit different than that, and I would characterize it this way. Really, we have a timing issue with regards to the building permit, and that's what's leading us here and is really behind the request. The lot in question fronts Marshall Road. Had we not entered into the minor subdivision process, we would be able to pull a permit for that building now. The problem is that in December, we did enter the minor subdivision process, and we received approval, and we have a work order, and we're in the process of constructing the roadway. We can't now, without your approval, pull a permit for that to build the building, to start the building on that first lot until the minor subdivision process is brought to a conclusion, which means the road is completely constructed and the plat is filed. So we have a situation where otherwise we could pull the building permit, but because we're in the process, we can't. We have a tenant that is anxious to move into the building. We would like to be able to commence construction on that building, and we need your approval to do that. The road itself is under construction, and the road itself will be finished well before the building is finished. But your approval this evening would simply allow us to get the building permit to begin construction of that building simultaneously with us finishing the roadway. Otherwise, we would have to finish the roadway, file the plat before we could get the building permit to commence building the building. Hope that was as clear as it sounded to me. But I'll be happy to answer any additional questions that you may have. I would just conclude by saying that at the end of the day, The staff has noted that the occupancy of the building will be held in the event that for some reason the road is not constructed. And in a worst-case scenario, again, this lot and this building actually fronts a public roadway. So you would not be allowing us to pull a building permit on a parcel that does not otherwise front a public roadway. So with that explanation, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have had, but we would respectfully request your approval to allow us to pull that permit at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Marone. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak on this? Seeing none, I close it to the public. I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Lauren.
Mr. Morone, the only question I have, how are you going to access to start the building if you don't have the road?
Well, the road is under construction, so there's physical access to this parcel now.
You do have,
Yes,
you do have access.
yes, there is physical access now.
Okay.
Commissioner Matthews.
Paul, what you're saying is the entire road has to be built, and you, of course, don't have the entire road built.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a question of time. How long will it take to finish the entire road?
I don't know for sure. 2 months.
2 months to finish the entire road,
Correct.
okay?
And to put in the retention in the back.
So you would put off the start of construction by 2 months. Is that a deal breaker?
That 2 months would be valuable, particularly this time of year. If we could commence construction, the tenant needs to be in by the end of the year, and that 2 months is critical to us.
Okay. So this is a very unusual situation, and there is a hardship here with the tenant being ready to start and can't because the back half of the road may not be finished. I'd move to approve.
Second.
Subject to the occupancy not being issued.
Oh, yes, thought that was part of it, yeah.
We have a motion by Commissioner Matthews to approve, a second by Commissioner Richard. Is there any further comments? Hearing none, I would ask for a vote. Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item is one regarding Money Hill. I am employed by Money Hill, so I will recuse myself for discussion and voting and will actually leave the chamber. Vice Chairman Davis will now preside. Thank you.
On the third order of business and old business, this is the Money Hill Phase 5 Garden Homes, lots 279 and 280, Ward 6, District 6. Parish Council District Representative Honorable Richard Tanner. This is a request to reduce the width of a drainage servitude. Staff's comments?
Yes, the engineer for that subdivision approved the reduction in width of the servitude. The Department of Engineering has no objection.
No objection. Is anybody here from Money Hill?
Yes, my name is Bill Nelson, 360 Stonehaven Drive in Mandeville, and my wife and I own lot 279. And the architectural committee out there was the one that realized the drainage was not correct, and they had Mr. Eddie Murphy survey it and shoot the elevations. And he made the recommendation back to the architectural committee at Money Hill. They asked us and the owner of lot 280 to approve it. I have a copy of the letters with me, the originals approving it. And Money Hill, the architectural committee, they granted it, but they said that the subdivision plot plan that was recorded with the parish was like the Bible, and you had to go and correct the Bible before you could do anything with the property. We found the original surveyor, Bruce Butler, had him go back out, shoot the elevations, and he submitted the documentation to Darrell Fassell, the original engineer who submitted the subdivision plot plan, and he approved it and made the recommendation to the engineering department. The engineering department for the parish did their study, and they approved it too. So we would ask that the parish commission approve it.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Now, Mr. Nelson, would you please fill out a speaker card for us too, please? Oh, great. Just hand it. With that, we'll bring it back up to the commission. Mr. Randolph.
Yes, sir. A motion to approve.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Bill?
I guess this is either for Mr. Nelson or the staff, probably more. What we have here is a mistake on the plat done by the surveyor?
Yes, they prepared an act of correction.
Okay. This wasn't something that the parish had required a larger servitude or drainage in this particular location for some drainage reason. Is that right?
No, if it were a public servitude, it would have a certain width requirement. Since it's a private servitude, it's only required to be as wide as necessary to fit the drainage.
Okay. And the new servitude will be the same for all of the homes on, what is it, High Street?
It's
Is that
the
correct?
servitude between lots 279 and 280 going from the cul-de-sac to the rear of the properties.
I understand that, but it will be the same width as all of the other servitudes on all of the other houses on High Street, or lots on High Street?
I'm not
correct?
familiar with the width of the other servitudes on that street.
Yes,
Mr. Nelson?
all the lots on High Street have a set-off on the side yards of 5 feet between the lots. So
Okay.
all the lots will have 5 feet.
So this truly is a mistake that needs to be corrected. All right, thank you.
Okay, I have a motion to approve by Commissioner Randolph and a second by Ms. Casablanca. Okay. Go ahead and place your votes. Can I vote? Can I vote? If you want. You don't have to. Okay. Motion passes. We'll wait for,
While we're waiting
Mr.
for him to
Mandela
come
come
in,
back in.
I have a question on the next case, that the packet we were given. We had a couple questions. Did this old business have to be advertised, or was it in the original agenda, or,
No, it's
because it's old business?
it's an old business item.
That's what I
yes.
thought. Okay, just checking.
and I believe this old business was posted over a day, 24 hours ago, is that correct?
That's correct. In hindsight, I should have tried to email you that and to get you further advance notice of it. But yes, it was received and posted on our website prior to the 24-hour notice.
Thank you, Mr. Keller.
Okay.
Last old business is Oak Plain Phase 2 subdivision, Lot 19AB, Ward 8, District 14, Parish Council Representative T.J. Smith. This is a request by owner to allow fencing within a parish drainage servitude. Comments from?
Oh, this is a pretty simple one. There is a existing servitude along an existing street right-of-way that the parish is not using, and we have no objection to the fence going there because we aren't using it for drainage purposes. They have requested putting the fence, but right now the plat requires no fence to be in that servitude, so this is a correction to the plat to allow that particular servitude to have a fence in it.
And I see by the images, and you also noted something about there had to be a certain height from the bottom of the fence to allow drainage, though?
That was their engineer's requirement to allow their lot to drain properly.
Oh, okay. Does anybody from the audience want to comment on this? If not, I bring it back to the commission.
Mr. Randolph?
Commissioner Matthews.
Randolph had it first.
Is
Oh, sorry.
the petitioner here? Yes. I haven't had a chance to even begin to look at this. I don't know what it says, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Staff seems to think it's okay, it's a minor thing. But through probably no fault of your own, I just got this about 30 minutes before the meeting started. I personally feel like I can't vote on this because I really don't know what it's saying. And I would make a motion to postpone for 30 days till the next meeting.
I have a motion to postpone by Commissioner Matthews. I also have a second by Commissioner Doherty. Let's place your votes. The motion to postpone has been denied.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve
Like
by
to,
Ms. Casabon.
can I comment?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to let the commission know, because of a miscommunication between myself and the engineering department, we didn't get this on the agenda as quickly as we wanted to. By the time I got the information that I needed, that's why this was a late item that was put on the agenda. And once again, I apologize for not sending you an email yesterday, so you would have at least a little bit more advance notice.
Thank you, Ron, for saying that. I have a motion to approve Ms. Casabon and a second by Commissioner Randolph. Please place your vote. Motion passes. Any other business? Motion to adjourn.
Sorry, but thank you.